coming. I don't know if you feel like you're sitting far back or not. The chairs were kind of just put there, but if you're good with that, that's fine. Otherwise, feel free to move your chairs if you need to come any closer. So some of you may have been on an email that I started with a group doing an essential oil series. And then what I did differently for this class is I decided to just offer it to my entire email list again because I feel this subject is so important with emotions. And if we can find different ways to work on the emotions, I'll explain through the presentation really how critical that is in terms of having good health. And there's a definite physiological connection between emotions and your state of health and how they directly affect it. So, with that said, we're going to get started here. Okay, so who would like to be more happy, connected, and empowered? Is there anybody who would not want to be? Right? Everybody would like to be more happy, connected, and empowered. Yet on this planet, where we live on planet Earth, one of our biggest challenges is emotions. And it's just something that is part of our physiological being. It's actually been shown that it exists in the single-celled organisms as much as a survival mechanism for evolution as it does in a complex being like ourselves. So this is actually a survival thing, is emotions. But, you know, as humans, I guess, I'm sure we make it way more complicated than a single-celled organism is going to do. So, in this class, we're going to talk about the science behind the emotions and the essential oils. I'm going to try to give you some tools to help you with healthy habits that will improve your body chemistry. We're going to talk about practical emotional wellness steps that you can take starting today. And actually, what my vision is for this is to do this maybe even 2 more times, because really today is more of an introduction. I do have, this presentation is kind of a little bit of an elementary level outline. I do have the college version right here. So I'm going to intersperse some of the college science into this presentation because I feel like this is really a basic structure, but everybody's at different levels with how much they want to get into the biochemistry. And this is all based on a book by Candace Pert called The Molecules of Emotion, which is incredibly fascinating to me. I don't know if everyone would feel that way, but she's actually a biochemist, is her background. And I went to school, and this would have been my job as well. So while I was reading how she did everything, all I could think of was, thank God I didn't do that. Thank God I didn't do that. And I did apply for that job. It was not my path, so it was never meant to be. But you know, when I see what she had to do to get this science, I'm thrilled to have the results of her work. And she was so unique that people in her field did not understand what she was doing, and it took 10 years or more for them to catch up to her level of what she was doing. So if you ever wanted to, this book actually came out in 1997, and I don't even know if there's another one that even comes close to it today, even with the, it's just her style is what it is. So that's what we're going to be basing this on. So what I did is I kind of broke down that book into these 9 pages. This is a 300-page book. I kind of took the highlights. And I will get a little more technical, you know, as I feel we need to get. So, your body is a map of intelligent cells wired to restore health. I even have the theory, and I'm pretty sure that one day, if not already, somebody has already proven this, that our single-celled individual cells within ourselves, through evolution, were independent and became specialized and became organized, and that's how our bodies ended up coming together. But the single cells work with their own individual consciousness. They eat for themselves, they secrete and excrete for themselves, so they're individual operating cells. So they're very intelligent though, and this is what she has proved. And let me just check one more thing here before we move on. this is just saying that you can be your own advocate and claim, I can't hardly see this on my screen, that's why I was making sure it showed up over there because it's yellow. Be your own best advocate and claim the gift of wellness for yourself. So in other words, take responsibility in what I'm going to be going over today. Emotions are processed throughout the body. A lot of times in what's called the traditional male science view, because there's a female science and a male science. Is anyone familiar with that type of thing? Right? The male science is more like mechanical, matter, force, and it doesn't include things like emotions or mood or the traditional science is where they think that the brain, in other words, controls the mind and controls the body. What Candace has proven is that it's in fact a network that is running two-way communication at all times. It's not just coming from the top and going down the spinal cord and out through the nerve supply. There is a component that does exist that way, but on the emotions part of it, which is what she proved, which is what I'm going to try to transfer to you, there's actually, on the same system, which is the nervous system, she was able to map out the molecules of emotion, which she's calling cell receptor sites, which we're going to get into, and peptides, which are part of the ligand family, or the ligand family. And what they've now shown in a lot of science, and many of you probably have already heard this, is that most 70 to 80% of the neurotransmitters they always said were coming from the brain actually are coming from the intestines or the gut, and that's why they call that the second brain. And then the heart as well is what comes into this as another functioning organ. Those are the three brains. So in this picture here, they still kind of show it as being in the head, but that's what I want to stress to you. It is not just centered in the head. It does go up and down the entire body, and it involves all the systems, not just the nervous system, but the endocrine system, the immune system, and there's the fourth one as well. So they feed back to each other, and again, like I said, this picture shows that the mind is there, but what she was able to prove was the mind is actually the body itself. I mean, and this kind of gets into these concepts that are going to be something you might not have ever heard of, but she actually proved this in her studies. We think of the mind as something that, or what do you think of the mind? When you hear the word mind, what comes to mind?
Brain.
The brain, okay.
Intelligence, emotions.
Do you think of it as a physical thing or as a intelligent, yeah, like you said,
It's consciousness,
consciousness, right?
as opposed to physiology.
Right.
Talking about the brain, that's physical, and the mind is conscious.
So when you hear the term body-mind connection, does that connotate a physical, or what does that connotate to you? Let me ask you.
Physical and
When you hear the two separate words, body as compared to mind. I mean, we're saying mind, you said consciousness, intelligence. So then, in other words, the body, would you consider that separate? That's my question.
the body would be separate from the mind. The mind is more the intangible. It's sort of the integration of the whole, the physical constituent.
Okay, so what Candace is proving, and I will get into
Electrical
this.
connections.
What did you say?
Electrical connections, like you plug something into an appliance into the wall, and that will not work unless the electricity is flowing through it.
Yes, and I'm glad you brought that up, because that's actually what I would call the male version of science in the body is electrical. They think we run on axons, dendrites, and nerve synapses to communicate. That information has to jump across a synapse between two nerve cells, and that's the only way information gets passed along in the body. What Candace proved is that there is that component, certainly, but that there's another thing which she calls information substances that travel the same pathways, but they don't just jump from one cell across a synapse to the other cell. They can actually travel farther and hit something a couple inches away and go for longer periods of time. And this is what, through really detailed radioactive assays and things like that, attaching radioactive components to different things that they considered substances. Okay, I'm just going to start reading from this page so it doesn't sound like I'm just saying mumbo jumbo, because I think this is key. And this book was so exciting to me. It was like a mystery novel, unraveling with the secrets of all this. All right, so this is, and Candace has been giving these lectures. She started out as a Western scientist in the National Institute of Health for 13 years. She was the chief of brain biochemistry. She right now works at Georgetown University as a research professor. But through her initial testing, when she first graduated and started doing this work, she started to come to what she's calling the field of intelligence now. And she did pioneering research. She was the first one to discover the opiate receptor in the brain, which, this is where I'm just going to start reading some of this for you in pieces. So she demonstrated how our internal chemicals, the neuropeptides and their receptors, let me see if I can switch slides, which our three brains instinctively process every life experience. But she demonstrated that the neuropeptides and the receptors are the actual biological underpinnings of our awareness, manifesting themselves as emotions, beliefs, and expectations. And that sums up her work. But she discovered evidence of the biochemical basis. She was asked to speak, in other words, at a lot of mind-body seminars in places in California where they, at that time in the 70s, you know, they were the cutting edge with this type of stuff. And on the East Coast, it was the last thing that they could think of. So they wanted a scientist of her background proving these things to go along with what they had already known about breath techniques with yoga or body work and different things like that. So she was able to bridge both of them and prove what they had always known was true without having the actual scientific evidence. Okay, so what she's calling, you know, what we're calling in the head, the brain and the mind, she's saying it's actually a mobile brain that moves through the entire body, located in all places at once and not just in the head. It's an awareness that can actually transform matter and create an entirely new body. The body is not a mindless machine. The body and the mind are one. So when she starts writing about the body and the mind, she coined a term called body-mind, because she's saying the body and the mind are the same thing, and that the body is actually our subconscious mind. I mean, that's a term that, you know, I'm sure none of you have ever considered, that the subconscious mind is actually our physical body. Has anyone ever considered that? She actually proves that in this book. And that's what I'm saying. This class is going to have to continue because I want to really work that up so you can see it on the slides. And what she did was totally different. For instance, let me just go through this a little further. In our normal processing of emotions, you know, let's just say we have our thoughts, and our thoughts will start to say, you know, I have to figure this out on a mental level. Whereas the body, there's a physiological reaction that goes with the emotion of feeling overwhelmed, and that's the feeling that you would have. The mind says, I have to figure this out. The body's organs say, I feel overwhelmed, and then that translates into the intestines as maybe constipation or an upset stomach or feeling stuck. So that's how there's a three-system connection with the three brains. For instance, if somebody feels, let's say you get embarrassed for some reason. Somebody says something that embarrasses you. Would you consider that to be an emotion, to feel embarrassment?
But it has a physical manifestation.
Right. Would you say it's an emotion?
Yes.
Like you're embarrassed? You know, you
There's
feel,
also a thought though.
right, it's a thought, but then you feel embarrassed too, and then you also have a physiological sensation of maybe blushing or getting nervous. And, you know, like people who go on stage, you know, they get nauseous, right? That has nothing to do with a physical thing that happened to them. That was, you know, in like a vague area here, but I'm trying to show you how there's a physical thing. So in this example, she has a reaction for her overwhelmed state of mind. She feels a headache, head tension. You know, she's confused, she has conflicted feelings, and again, the unsettled stomach, so it's physical. You're like, oh, you know, there's actual pain. So what's making that connection between those three systems? It has a lot to do with, that actually leads into the belief system that you carry around within yourself. And you can either be watering, she's watering in her head, her thoughts, with the watering can here. You can either be watering seeds or weeds, is what they say. The belief that I'm not good enough is a weed, where let's say she was trying to, you know, she was in a play and she forgot her lines, you know, so immediately she translated that into I'm not good enough. And then that ends up showing up in life and creating her reality. So she's trying to, in this case, she's not doing a very good job, but over time, over years of growing, we can have these beliefs that are part of our communication system. I'll call it a communication network. And it starts to interfere with the way things are supposed to be, because our normal healthy state is to experience happiness. If all the communications are flowing up and down your system, then you know, there shouldn't be anything getting stuck, and everything should actually be making you feel good. So here's an example of a cell that has a cellular receptor, which this case, you know, it shows it as a fork, but they're different shapes, and they're like puzzle pieces. And they can have ones that are like an upside down V, like a circle, and then the only thing that will fit in there is the opposite shape, in other words. So they're very specific. They don't allow just anything to attach to them. And in our body, we have these receptors that will only work with certain things. And so what she was the first one to discover the opiate receptor. And this was back in the 70s when everyone was trying to study mind-body science. And they started out using the drugs that they knew were affecting people's emotions, such as heroin, marijuana, cocaine, PCP, which is angel dust, because these are chemical drugs, and yet they were affecting people's emotions. You would agree, right? Radically, like transforming them. So that's where they started, because chemically, they saw that the emotions were being altered on a chemical basis. And it turns out with her notion of this, and again, nobody else in science was doing this at all, and she had to fight hard and was blocked from a lot of drug trials that could have been successful a lot earlier than they were. And this spills actually into cancer research, and she ended up doing AIDS research with this too. But what her theory was that if those drugs affect us on an emotional basis and they're chemicals, then there must be, you know, once she found out there was a receptor for it that it was attaching to, she said, well, I'm sure that the body wouldn't naturally have a receptor in it for morphine or opium. You know, why would the body design itself that way to have a receptor that would allow this chemical to bind with it and change the cell, change through information, change what the cell puts out there as, okay, this is what the physiological response I'm going to emit now that I have this new piece of information telling me what to do on a single cell basis. So once she figured out, you know, this isn't natural, there must be something natural in the body that is supposed to bind in this receptor. And that's what she sought for through her experiments. So what do you think she came up with was the natural equivalent of morphine or opium, or not marijuana on this particular site, but in our body? What is the thing that they're called peptides, but what is the thing that is supposed to, do you think, create those feelings naturally in ourselves? What did you say?
Dopamine.
No, but
Serotonin.
that is definitely one of the things that binds to receptors. That's in a certain category. Anyone else have a guess?
You said serotonin.
No, not serotonin.
Endorphins.
And this is actually, what did you say?
Endorphins.
Yes, endorphins. This is the basic of the evolution of survival, taught by Darwin even, that we all have these needs for pleasure, pain, survival instincts, and endorphins were proven and scientifically shown to exist in the single-celled organisms.
And endorphins are?
So have you never heard of runner's high?
I have. I'm asking just in general.
Okay, so there's a category of what binds to these receptors, and it's called, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, ligands or ligands. Do you know? Does anyone know? Ligands. It comes from the Latin word ligare, Ligare, which means that which binds. So there's 3 categories of ligands. I'm going to say ligands. I don't know. One is the neurotransmitters like epinephrine and acetylcholine and norepinephrine that are more the nervous system ones. Those were the original ones. The very first one they ever found was acetylcholine. The second category has to do with steroids, which steroids are like the hormones, testosterone, estrogen, progesterone, and they actually are created from cholesterol in the body. That's another kind that binds to certain cells that are specifically made for it and will create changes based on the binding. And the third category are the peptides. And the peptides are the ones that she is saying are the molecules of emotion in binding with these chemical receptors. So the endorphins are chemicals, peptides, in other words, they're protein chains of individual amino acids that they form a chain, and that's what binds to this receptor site.
And they're created by?
Endorphins are created in the body. They have many. This was the other thing she proved in her studies. Everything doesn't just come from the brain. But what she did check in her mapping was that she wanted to see where the receptor sites were located. And when she did these colored maps, color coding them, at first, most of the receptors she found were all in the limbic system of the brain, which the limbic system, does anyone know what that part of the brain does? Have you heard of it? Okay. So that is what we call the seat of emotions in our brain. That's the area, the emotional part of the brain, is the limbic system. So she found most of these receptor sites concentrated in the limbic system of the brain, which was her first clue that it had something to do with the emotions, if they were all there. Then through further mapping, she noticed they went down along the spine in different clusters of nerve cells, these receptor sites. And then through further research, she ended up finding them through the immune system, through the intestines, through every organ, and they were all over the body. But at first they were just looking at the head because everyone thought, oh, it's a brain thing. So that's when she started to say, these aren't just neuropeptides from the nervous system and the brain. They're actually a network that's existing everywhere in the body. There's communication, a two-way communication. Have you ever seen, like, ants climbing up, or let's just say there's a trail of ants going along in a straight line or whatever, you know how they travel, and maybe they're getting food crumbs or something, and then there'll be another one going the opposite way. You ever see them doing a two-way thing? And what happens when they pass each other? Has anyone ever noticed?
They stop and check each
What?
other.
Is that you?
Yeah.
They stop and do what?
Check each other out.
Oh, you said that.
There's some sort of communication and then they keep going.
Yeah, they like touch faces or something, and then they continue to go. And bees have a way of doing this too, and that completely. If you can pick, have you seen this? Has everybody seen? You've never. Okay. All right. Well, no. Every ant does that. They pass each other, and they all do this thing where they're exchanging information, and they're telling each other, something like the food is still there, keep going, or whatever. And the other one You know, it's something like that. But that's the same way that our cells, the cell receptors, moving this information substances, which are the peptides in this case, going all over the body, are communicating, and there's a chain reaction that ends up occurring. So if you can picture those ants, that's how I looked at them. So the thing about essential oils, though, there's emotions are physical also in the sense that we can store trauma and emotions that were never healed. They get stored in our cellular memory, physically in the cell. And the way to clean them out is you have to detox. You have to, you know, just like a cleanse. You have to clean them out physically, in other words. Has anyone heard this before? You have to physically clean emotions out of your body.
Is this what they refer to when they talk about eating for carnivores, eating an animal's fear, you're actually ingesting?
Well, they're talking about the adrenaline. When you're eating the fear of the animal, it's when they're in so much fear, they're putting out so much adrenaline, which is poisonous. And yes, if you kill it at that moment when it's all flooded through the system, you're going to eat adrenaline in your food, which is poisonous. The reason that a cat will bat around a mouse after killing it or slowly killing it, where it's slowly dying, is to let that adrenaline seep back into wherever it came from, the adrenals. So that's why a cat, you know, they know how to do that. But we, you know, especially in factory farming, where they corral them in such a way that they're literally screaming cows and pigs, and I mean, it's the most awful thing on our planet, but they kill them at that exact moment when their fear and their adrenaline is as high as possible. So it's poisonous to us to eat that. Essential oils actually also will bind and interact to those receptor sites chemically as well. And the reason I'm staying on this slide so long is because I don't think the other slides they're going to kind of go away from this topic, and I really want to talk a little bit more about when they were doing drug research. In other words, they found, you know, the endorphins were our natural body's pain reliever or pleasure thing. They say, for instance, a heroin addict, for the first IV injection that a heroin addict uptakes, it responds in the brain the same way as an orgasm. And that for the heroin addict, it's a rush of endorphins. It's not endorphins, it's a chemical for them, but it's like the rush of endorphins in a healthy body would be experiencing, which is what they say an orgasm is. So, so for heroin addiction at that time, this is when Nancy Reagan was trying to have the war on drugs, and so they were trying to tell all these scientists, can you find something that will block the heroin from binding, you know, causing this thing? And no other scientist was doing it this way. But she was able to prove that if they could find another receptor, they could chemically make a peptide that they could chemically make that would bind onto that receptor site that the heroin was binding to. It would block receptor sites for the heroin. And she tested this, and that's what ended up happening was they had to match the endorphin, you know, so chemically make something like that. And then when that bound to the receptor site, it blocked it from the heroin. So the people were able to have no withdrawals, and they didn't have these cravings.
So are those the chemicals that they give them when you go into heroin treatment?
Well,
You're
most
being given those chemicals versus the heroin, because then it's, you see what I'm saying, but it's still chemically made.
I know. The problem with this book is it ends in 1997.
Okay.
So I don't know what they're doing now, but she was trying to suggest this and nobody believed her. Nobody believed her whatsoever. They did 10 years later, they started to, but even for HIV, she was able to prove if you could block the cell receptor site that HIV was going to with something else and not allow the HIV to get inside the cell, you know, the person would not have immune system problems. And everyone else was looking at it like, we have to find a drug that will get inside the cell, because they were considering the HIV virus rupturing the cell from the inside. She proved no, that's not what's happening. What's happening is because it's blocking the receptor site that it's binding to, the natural thing that would have normally bound to the cell there and given the cell a healthy information, to do what it needed to do was blocked. So that's why the cells were done, because they weren't getting their natural peptides. Okay, so as I was saying, essential oils can also do this chemically, like the drug, in other words, except essential oils are plant-based and they're natural. And for moods and emotions, when people are suffering with emotions that they can't seem to get away from or release, they just keep recycling in their bodies over and over and over. She was able to show that if they had found something that would bind to the receptor site instead of the typical emotional pattern that the person kept experiencing, they would be able to free themselves from that. And again, we're going to get into essential oils, but she didn't exactly cover the essential oils, but we're gonna start playing with some of them. I just want you to know, besides a drug, you can do this naturally, besides your own chemistry, with essential oils to help you. All right, so let's see. So essential oils promote emotional purification. And has anyone ever done a cleanse physically, like let's say for your intestines, like a strong one? You're right, you did that one. Okay, so I did one, for instance, it was a 7-day cleanse, and it involved doing 2, what do they call it, colonics a day, 12 hours apart with 5 gallons of water, and it involved drinking something every 45 minutes and not eating any solid food. And part of it was clay and psyllium, bentonite clay, because that pulls toxins out of it shrinks and pulls it off of the intestinal walls, while the psyllium acts as a broom and sweeps things out. And then your nutrition is on a liquid basis, either live juices or green powdered drinks or something like that. And this goes on for 10 days. And they've shown, there's some people that's all they do, that's their job. In Hawaii, for instance, there's a place they do this for 10 days for couples, for marriage therapy. Because when the people clean their intestines out over 10 days, they actually repair, they don't have these emotional anger anymore, which gets stuck in the cells and the waste matter. That's my point on this. But this is actually a marriage therapy place, and the people feel so cleansed and so freed of these toxic emotions that they couldn't get along with their partner. So you wouldn't believe the testimonials coming out of that place. I happen to have heard of them while I was getting my master herbalist degree. So what I'm going to do now, though, to get you involved in this. Let me just go back a little bit, though. I was talking about when I did that cleanse for myself, because I was experimenting, what is really the one that's going to get the most stuff out. And during the process, there would be, and I'm a very even-tempered person, believe me. Like my blood pressure is always like 90/40. And during that, I was experiencing rage, like absolute rage that would come and go in flare-ups. And I was pre-warned about this, that I would be clearing emotional feelings that were in the cells, that they were physical. And I was actually, I can't even tell you, but it would be a flash. As it was cleansed out, it would come and go. Like I do not throw things ever, but I was actually throwing things in my bathroom doing the colonic. Like if some part didn't fit exactly right, I just couldn't handle it. I was just like, smashing things. And it was something I'd never experienced, but it really proved to me that they were physically in the cells. And my mother, at the time I had a 2-year-old, so she was watching him it just took all my time. You can't work while you do that type of a cleanse. So I kept having, I would snap at her, whatever. And then I would come out of the bathroom and be fine. And I would keep apologizing, showing her in writing, look, this is what's happening. These are emotions that are just stuck in the cells coming out. And, they would come and go, but she was really holding a grudge against me.
Your mother was?
Yes. But I knew it, I was prepared for it. I found it fascinating that it happened. The other thing that happened from cleaning the intestines, not to sidetrack here a little bit, because it's related actually. This is kind of where you would want to start, is cleaning your intestines to remove emotional blockages. But once I did this cleanse, which I really should do again, because you should repeat it, every few years or 5 years at least. I gained so much flexibility. When you clean out the intestines, it actually pulls things through the walls from the adjacent surrounding areas. So my joints, for some reason, got so super limber. And I felt so light that we were on the beach, and I was just like, I just feel like I could run really fast, and I was like, let me just try it. And it was just so weird. I had no tiring of it, and I was hardly touching the sand. It was the most bizarre thing. Instead of feeling like, oh my gosh, the sand is so hard to walk in, I was just like skittering across it with full speed and just no tiring. So I encourage you, possibly, this is where you start, is the intestines. All right, so the essential oils, though, a lot of people don't want to do that type of an extensive cleanse, but it would be mind-blowing what you would experience. No, I mean, I could, that's part of my master herbalist thing. I could, help tell you what you would do for that. But I want to just start passing around some of these oils so you can smell. And we're going to talk about the emotions of each oil. This one they're showing right now is wild orange. And wild orange happens to be really great for if you're ever feeling overwhelmed. Like, let's say you're gonna, you're rushing to get somewhere, you're late, and everybody's waiting for you, and you're the speaker, right? So put this on, and it's immediate. It's immediate that those feelings immediately go away. So just pass that around and smell it.
What do you mean, put it on?
So you would, I would put it close to where I could smell, which would be right here.
Okay.
And there's actually jewelry you can make, which we did have a class once. Okay, yeah, we're like making bracelets. But I'm saying, and there's like these lava rocks you can put into the bracelet beads that would hold the essential oils for almost 2 days. Versus when you put it on your skin, it goes into your body and kind of.
Yeah, I don't really like taking it into my body.
Well, that's another thing. If you're going to use essential oils, make sure they are certified therapeutic grade, and do not have the warning, like do not use not for internal use, in other words, because even if they're saying like you can't put it in your water internally, if that's what they're trying to say, really anything you do with smelling it is even going internally.
Right.
That's actually worse. Like if you're taking a shower in chlorinated water, you're getting more chlorine than if you drank the chlorinated water by breathing it in. And putting it on your skin is also going internally. So you want to make sure that the oils, you're not just using them as a perfume. Perfume is chemicals. These are actually plant-based. And this particular company is doTERRA that I'm passing around, which really is the only one I'm recommending. As being a company that tests their quality, their potency, the efficacy, the parts used on the plant, 8 different types of tests that cross-check each other, and it's done by a third-party tester, which a lot of companies do it 1 or 2 ways only, internally in the company, and then they, and you can smell the difference. Sometimes I bring the different companies so you can compare, but that's not what today is about. So when you're smelling this wild orange, though, before it goes all the way around, this is good for, like I said, feeling overwhelmed, feelings of anxiety. It will help you sleep better. It's instead of like a lot of people think of lavender as that type of a calming oil, but for me, lavender is good too. This wild orange, which you would think of, it's citrusy. You might think, all the citrus oils have something in common, which is that they uplift your spirits. But this particular one also does this grounding, calming thing. It's just crazy. You've only got to experience it. And the reason that works on a chemical basis is because it does through smell. That's why the jewelry I was talking about, really you'd want to make a necklace so it could hang right there and you're always smelling it. It goes right into the limbic system through the nose. There's only one synapse it has to cross. And the limbic system, through smell, is one of our most potent ways of having memories through smell. You know, like if you're ever around a smell you haven't smelled in a while, or, you know, everybody's had these experiences where you smell a certain food or clothing or something, it always draws a strong memory attachment, like maybe to something in your past, right? People have experienced that. Smell is a powerful connector to memories. So my point is, it's also quickly gets into your body. And what this is showing here, that one drop of essential oils has 40 million trillion molecules in just one drop, which is more than all the cells we have in our body. We have like 100 trillion. This is 40 million trillion in one drop. I mean, it takes like one drop of peppermint oil. I'll pass peppermint around so you can smell. Or we'll wait until that slide comes up. But one drop of peppermint is equal to 40 cups of peppermint tea. So these are like the most potent part of the plant, like drip by drip, you know, getting out the most medicinal qualities. And you, again, I have to stress, you really want the therapeutic grade that you can trust, and test it for yourselves with other companies. I'm going to wait on that a second. But because it's 40 million trillion molecules, it gets into every cell in just seconds, like immediately. They're very potent. So, again, they're just saying how it supports the cell receptors, which transforms information into the cell that promotes a healthy cell function and maintains the cell at the level that it's supposed to be. There's another way you can compare cells. If you don't ever clean cells on a cellular level, you know, which is our basic component of our body, they compare it to like a dirty fishbowl tank that, you know, through different things, we have osmosis through the cell wall with the sodium on one side and potassium on the other, for instance. And if you are low in potassium, which most people are low in potassium, that's one of our most important things we need in life. It's going to keep all the sodium on the one side, so the cell's just not going to have this exchange across it, and it's going to be like a dirty fishbowl tank that you never clean. So cleaning the cell is important on a cellular level. That's how you're going to maintain your own health. So that's what the essential oils can help do. All right, here's a picture of peppermint, magnified enormously. This is a peppermint leaf. Those sacks you see on there are the actual peppermint oil coming to the surface, which I asked this in another class. I don't know if anyone's here from that class, but does anyone know why they call them essential oils?
Essential. Needed for life.
It's actually because it represents the essence of the plant. So it's the essence of the plant, which is the life force of the plant, in other words. And the life force is what protects the plant. It nourishes the plant on that one level. And because we are so similar related to plants, we're identical up to the 32nd DNA strand. We only differ in our blood, which is the juice of the plant, which is different than the oil, by one molecule. They have chlorophyll and we have hemoglobin. Otherwise, we are that close to plants in our DNA. So whatever's protecting the plant, I'm saying, and is working for the plant and is the essence of the plant, is also going to be that same protective nature and do what it does for the plant for you. So in this experiment we're going to do here, I'm going to, could you help me pass around, just put a drop in everyone's palm.
Sure. Don't
And
touch
then-
your eyes with it.
Yeah, do not touch your eyes. What we're going to do is we're going to put a drop in your palm, one drop, and don't like do anything with that yet. But the reason I'm having her do this is because, like my mother, she shook the whole thing, thinking she had to shake it and she had a puddle in her hand. And I was like, oh, what a waste. You just wasted it all. So now I've learned, really, you know, because some of the oils are thicker than others and they can require a little bit of a shake, but some of them just flow right out, and that's what she
I
did.
heard this is a good repellent to dilute with water for spraying around the house for spiders.
Oh, you know, it works awesome on cockroaches, I'll tell you that. Just like 2 or 3 drops of this in a big container, like a spray bottle of water. You can spray a cockroach, it will stop in its tracks like you just used Raid or something. Because cockroaches, they're so ancient, they're like 400 million years old. They, the one thing they don't like, they're resistant to everything, they will survive everything. But the one thing they don't like is getting soap on them. Okay. They want to be clean. And if you get soap on their stomach specifically, yes. So you would like mix it with, well, see, I use the peppermint oil soap, Dr. Bronner's peppermint soap, oil, whatever you want to call it. But you can make your own, you know, it wouldn't be soap. But combined with peppermint, which is an antiviral, antifungal, okay, so you got your drop. Let's go to that. Okay, so take your thumb. Did you want a drop? I'll do a drop too. Why not? This is called a peppermint pick-me-up. Okay, you can do this any time of the day. Instead of your coffee break, you do this. If you're falling asleep during somebody's lecture, or especially if it's hot outside, take your other thumb, put it in the middle there, and just get, you know, a bunch on your thumb, and keep the rest in your palm, and then put that on the upper part of the roof of your mouth and count to 10.
Literally put it on the roof?
Okay, now that's going right up into your brain area there. Now, together with the rest of your hands, rub them together, and then take a whiff, but be careful. But inhale it for as long as you want to enjoy it. It's really going to clean your head out. Right? That's strong. And now the rest of it put on the back of your neck. And, you know, if you even want, like if you had a headache or a tension headache, you know, you could put a little on your forehead or around the sides of your temple. But in our experiment, because it's all in the palm, you can't really do the sides here. So, but don't put it too close to your eyes. You know, I think it would be temporary burn. But this is what's recommended for headaches, for fever. When my son was very small and he would get fevers, I would just put peppermint on the back of his neck and on his forehead. I mean, he was an infant, and it would just, the fever would be gone. Because it goes right into all your cells. Like I said, it's antiviral, antifungal, and antibacterial. Peppermint, people don't talk about it, but even peppermint tea is super powerful. Make sure. Does anyone have the wild orange? Or, oh, that's over there. Okay. All right. So, in addition to physical cleansing, though, and emotions are physical molecules, but just to give you an idea, I want to just read to you wild orange on an emotional level, what it does, because it works at both levels. Okay, wild orange inspires abundance, fosters creativity, supports a positive mood. Actually, let me go to peppermint since we're all smelling the peppermint. We can be enjoying what it's doing for us. Peppermint reminds individuals that life can be happy and there is nothing to fear. It should give you some inner emotional strength. And you can just breathe that in. That'll last a while, like a half hour. Use peppermint to rediscover the joy of being alive. If it is used as a permanent escape to avoid dealing with emotional pain, however, it can hinder growth and progress. So you shouldn't use it as a permanent escape. But it does allow individuals who need a short breather, like if you're under stress. But we are not meant to wade in the shallow end forever. So, most people use peppermint in the pick-me-up way, and not so much on an emotional way. All right, let's go to. Okay, so as I was saying, smell is the fastest way to affect mood. I had an idea that the best way to use this for an emotional level, besides the cleansing it's doing physically, is when you smell the oil, like let's say it's wild orange. Let me give you another one. Are these open yet? Yes,
Yes, they are.
Okay. All right, doTERRA since we're here, they just came out with this kit. It's the Emotional Aromatherapy Kit. This is brand new. It's not even, you can't even buy it yet until October 1st. But in here, they have some new oils. One's for motivation, one is for cheer, one is for passion, one is for forgiveness, one is for consolation, for comfort, and one is for peace or reassurance. So who has an issue that you want to smell that particular oil? Does anyone want to call one out and I'll pass it?
Peace.
Peace? Okay. All right, so let's smell peace. And I haven't even smelled these yet myself. And peace, when I pass this around, I'll explain what in a minute. And again, it might not, there's another experiment we're going to do. But so that's going to promote peace. It's a blend. These are all blends. Does this say what's in the blends anywhere?
On the bottom.
On the bottles and the paperwork doesn't, they're gonna be giving us paperwork with it, we don't have it yet.
All right, so we don't exactly know what is in there. But what I was going to have you do as a fun little project, but I don't want to get this out of control. So whoever has the cap, make sure you keep the cap with the bottle, right? Oh, I have the cap. It's like, where are my glasses?
Do you want her to read what's in the bottle?
Sure.
Yeah, for peace, there's vetiver, lavender, ylang ylang, frankincense, clary sage, marjoram, and spearmint.
Oh. All right, well, that's a lot.
So
We're not going to go through those individually. But the thing I was going to do was, when you have the individual oils specifically, you could actually smell each one, and then the one that you liked the most, that's what you would look up in this book here. This book is called Emotions and Essential Oils. And you would look up the one that you like the most, and it would tell you, maybe why you're attracted to it on an emotional level. What is it doing that you need help with?
I liked emotionally or the way it smelled?
You like the way it smells. So you don't even know what it does emotionally. But you do this test based on just how it smells, and then you find out why does my body like the way it smells? Because your body's giving you a signal. So the other thing that you do then is you find the one that you like the least. The one that you're just like, ugh, as soon as you smell it. Which for me, I don't think I brought it. I'll show you the one I don't like. But then you look that one up too. And that actually tells you your unresolved emotional conflicts that you've never addressed, that are buried, that you need. You need that one too.
What if you take one of them that gives you a headache? Yang Yang does that to me.
I think I inhaled this one.
Yang Yang.
I think I inhaled this one more than I needed to or should have, and it's affecting me.
Where did you put it?
Right here, but I inhaled it twice.
Did you put it anywhere, like in the back of your neck?
Mm-mm.
It's actually supposed to relieve a headache. So it's possible.
I think it was the way I inhaled it.
Okay. What were you saying, Lisa?
I was saying Yang Yang, it helps lower blood pressure, but boy, it gives me a terrible headache.
Well, I don't mean that kind of reaction. I mean, what don't you like by the smell?
Oh, okay, all right.
I'm talking about the smell. So I'm going to pass this one around, which, my son actually loves this. He puts it in his water. And I know I need this because this is the one I don't like. But anyway, just go ahead and smell that one. See if you can figure it out. Or actually, see if you like it. See if you like it or you don't like it. And I'll read to you what it does.
What is the cumulative effect of smelling so many different ones? Does one modify the effect of the other?
No, I think that's, you mean if you're doing repeated things like,
Well, like right now, we're sniffing.
well, we're not going to do this. That's the last one I'll have you maybe, or one more. Why, are you feeling a difference? Oh.
Wondering if one oil changes the effect of the other, since you're mixing so many different chemicals.
Well, when you're blending oils, and this might be related, you can't just blend anything. There's a like musical note scale. And only the high notes can go with the high notes, and maybe they can go a little bit with the medium notes, but you know, there's a, which is in one of these books over here. If you really want to get into this, I totally recommend getting this book.
See, I wanna go outside and get some fresh air right now.
All right, do you want to? But it's on you probably, right? Or you're smelling everybody around you maybe. So what do you guys think of that one going around? Yeah, what?
What would be for mental clarity? I feel like I fog all the time. Fog the brain all the time.
Okay, you know, in this company, doTERRA, they do have this book, Modern Essentials that I was talking about. They have made a blend for that. It's called Focus. And that would be the one you would use. Have you used that one?
Mm-hmm.
So what's your experience been with that one?
And especially kids when they're trying to study too for tests at school, or trying to focus on something, or even for yourself. It's just nice in the morning time, as soon as you wake up, just to smell some of that, or put it on your wrist as if it was perfume, or behind your ears, and then constantly throughout the day, you're smelling that it's keeping you focused and balanced. It's called Focus. It's our Focus blend.
Yeah, they make blends for different things.
Are people allergic to it?
Well, some people are definitely more sensitive. You know, everybody's individual, so.
Well, can we find out
Yeah.
why somebody
Think that it smelled like a
Oh,
certain
yeah.
thing.
How many like that smell? Has that gone all the way around? Raise your hand if you liked it.
Yeah, basil.
Would you want to put that in your water and drink it?
No.
The ones who liked it.
Put it on my burger.
For some reason, my son loves it.
And water? Yeah.
All right, who did not like it? Who was like, ugh?
What's the issue?
Okay. But did you like it better than the other ones? Was it your favorite? Not the people who didn't like it. All right, basil. And again, what I did is I actually read this whole book before I even smelled any oils. I just read them all, and I just knew based on what it said that I needed it. But then once I smelled it, I was like, so I had to order it. But my son's using it up faster than I can because he keeps putting it in his water, which smells
Is that okay to do?
atrocious to me.
Yes. All of our oils can be ingested,
Yeah, so you can put the.
aromatically, topically, or ingested.
So for instance, in here, I have peppermint oil and lemon in this water. You want to smell lemon?
Yeah.
And I'll read you the basil one.
I'll read you.
Each one tells you how you can use it, whether you can put it on your skin, you can blend it.
Lemon in my diffuser.
Okay, so here's the lemon. And lemon has so many uses.
So there may be some that.
So you can apply these oils topically, like to the bottom of your feet. And the reason you would do it to the bottom of your feet is, one reason is that's where the largest pores in your body are. But the other reason is all the nerve endings in your whole body end in your feet. So anything you apply to the bottom of your feet goes into all your cells in like 45 seconds. And you can test this out by trying garlic on the bottom of your feet and see how long it takes for you to taste it in your mouth.
I do with children on that same line. You take peppermint, the same peppermint oil you did your peppermint pick-me-up with, put it on the bottom of their feet, and within minutes they can taste it in their mouth.
Yeah.
That's a good, and for children, that's like, oh wow, cool, you mean I rubbed it on my feet? Wow, they get all excited about it. So that's another cool way of doing that same type of thing. With the peppermint.
Because I'm too overly.
Some people are just sensitive to smells, and there's a lot of smells going on in this room when you're testing every bottle that goes by.
Yeah, and then depending on what you're trying to do, if it's like a heart thing, that you feel like emotional pain in your heart specifically, like, you know, you can feel, you know, like hardening of the heart is not just an expression. On an emotional basis, what I was trying to say is they have a physiological component too. Hardening of the heart is literally, you know, where you close your heart off from somebody, or, you know, love in
Leonardo
general.
da Vinci drew that in his anatomical sketches in the 1500s, 600 years ago, hardening of the heart, seriously.
Right.
Yeah, and you know, a heart of stone, isn't that another expression? I don't know. And, you know, like a broken heart or,
That's
you know,
different, 'cause
these are all actual physiological things happening from an emotional level. So you would put the oil right on your heart, is my point. If you're trying to heal your heart, you would put it on your heart as well. You could also put it in your wrists. You know, that's another great way to do it. The back of your neck, depending on what you're doing. You wouldn't do every single thing. But like the wild orange, like I don't put that on the bottom of my feet because I want to smell it. But the other thing with essential oils is they actually can go past the blood-brain barrier, which a lot of drugs cannot do. So, you know, there's only like 2 herbs really that even do that on an herbal level, like ginkgo and gotu kola. But essential oils can pass in there because they get absorbed in the cell membrane. They're not blocked from entering the cell. This is the one you were probably talking about. Or no, this is different. This is for, this is another blend they have if you're experiencing confusion, but that's probably not what, were you talking about confusion or foggy brain thing?
Brain fog, you know, you just feel like a hangover all the time and you don't.
You know, really what that sounds like you need to do is do an intestinal cleanse.
Oh, really?
And there's a thing where they used to say someone had a dyspeptic personality, which meant they were grouchy all the time or whatever, but that word actually comes from dyspepsia, which means like, yeah, intestines.
Hasn't
like
that
are blocked.
feeling of brain fog been linked to gluten lately?
Oh, well, we've got that going on
Gluten and
too.
sugar
And you know what?
combination,
That's
like
what,
brain fog.
which means the gluten, whatever's in the gluten in there is binding to cells and is blocking the receptor sites for what's supposed to naturally be allowed to enter the cell to make it a healthy state. So instead of searching for a drug to do that, which is what the drug companies try to do, find an essential oil that can help you in addition to cleansing though. But you're right, and then if you know that you're having that reaction to gluten, of course, then stop whatever the cause of it is as well. So again, when it's internally allowed, like certified, pure, therapeutic grade oils, that's what CPTG stands for, which is what all the doTERRA oils are. You can do it under the tongue even. It gets right into all your blood vessels under the tongue, in water. And you can also make your own little vegetable capsules and take them internally that way if you don't like the smell. Like we were talking about basil. Let me just read you basil again. Is that other one, did the basil come back? Oh, it's over there, right? Is that basil? Okay, so basil is for people who have extreme adrenal exhaustion.
Okay.
If you're, you know, primarily experiencing overwhelm, fatigue, low energy, and the inability to cope with life stressors, basil is the one for you. So if you really didn't like basil, that might be why. And then it also is great for people under a great deal of mental strain. It brings rejuvenation of vital forces after long periods of burnout and exhaustion. Basil oil may strengthen the adrenals and restore the body to its natural rhythms of sleep, activity, and rest. It also helps for addiction recovery. It gives hope and optimism to the tired soul. It can assist an individual in giving up false stimulants or other substance-related addictions. Increases one's natural energies to achieve greater balance and health. In short, basil is indicated for those who are weary in mind and body and for those in need of strength and renewal. So, does anybody relate to any of that? In our busy, stressful time. What?
Basil is the one you said you didn't like?
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. I knew I was in a burnout mode.
But I mean, wouldn't your body be craving that then?
Well, there's 2 ways. Both ways apply. The one you like the most, the one you don't like the most.
So
They
the one you
both
don't
are the
like.
ones you need the most.
Okay.
Both extremes. So because I don't like the smell though, like I tried putting it on myself and in my water, and I just really didn't like it. I need to put it inside the capsule and take it that way where I don't taste it or smell it, but it still can do its thing internally. So that's why you would want, again, an internally safe grade oil. All right. So here's another one, On Guard, which has clove, cinnamon. It's a blend for disinfecting. What else is in this one?
Cinnamon, clove.
Yeah, I said that. But anyway, you would put this one in capsules too. You could, for like, instead of an antibiotic, or you can diffuse it in your air when you're feeling sick, or for mold, or for people who are allergic to things. This is one of their product lines that is in soap, it's in their detergents, it's in their cleansers.
When you say put it in capsules, you put 1 drop in the capsule?
Well, some of them are like 3 drops, 2 to 3 drops usually. And you can blend them with other ones. You can fill your little capsule. It takes like, I don't know, 12 drops to fill it. You don't have to just do one at a time. You can put them all together. But that particular one, let me just read what's in there. Can anybody guess by the smell what's in there?
Susan, she has what's in it.
That's wild orange.
Okay, wild orange that you smelled first is in there as well.
Wild orange, clove, cinnamon, eucalyptus, and rosemary.
Okay, so eucalyptus, that's also a single one.
I know
But,
you have it on.
so how many of you liked that one?
I do.
It's like a Christmas smelling one, right?
Oh, yeah.
You could put that in your water as well, but the problem is the cinnamon is probably too strong and it will burn you. So that would be one you would, yes, were you gonna say something?
Oh, did you want to start?
To what?
My testimony?
Oh, sure, yeah.
I work in an office that I sit with 7 people in the exact same office, so we're all very close together, like all the desks. In a doctor's office. I have two people in my office that are sick all the time. They have a new baby. She's just turning 1, so she's now going to daycare and brings home everything that you have at daycare. They are sick all the time. I literally have started in December, and I can't tell you 1 month the 2 of them have been since December that they have not been sick. Our On Guard also comes in gel caps, so I gave her some gel caps to take over one weekend when she was starting to get sick again. She took them and she came back, and her cold was gone on Monday morning. And she told me, she said, Paula, this is the first time I have not had to have an antibiotic before I could get over whatever. Within 1 weekend, it was gone. And this is the first time since December or even before December that she's been able to get rid of the cold. I mean, it would go away for a short time and then it would come back, but it would always take them weeks to get over it.
Yeah, and that
It
brings
works.
me to another connection with emotions and getting sick. Which is that she has shown, Candace, okay, because she does her own level of studies, that the state of our emotions will affect whether or not we succumb to viral infections. In other words, a virus entering the cell receptor site. When you're happy, the reovirus, which is the common cold, can't enter the cell because it's the same receptor site as is needed for norepinephrine, which is what is thought to be the informational substance to flow happy states of mind. So, in other words, if you're having this is like a feedback loop thing. It's kind of like what comes first, the chicken or the egg. But let's just say that you're clean, and so your molecules are flowing. That's what's going to keep you in your happy place. It's not that you have to control, I need to be happy and think happy thoughts. It's actually a molecular thing based on being cleansed. So they found that people who were happier naturally did not get sick as much as the people with the common cold because those receptor sites were already bound with the norepinephrine. So they weren't available for the virus to attach to. And again, some people's science is boring, so I'm just not sure how much in depth you want me to go on that. But also with cancer patients, those who kept emotions such as anger under the surface, remaining ignorant of their existence, had slower recovery rates than those who were more expressive. The immune systems were stronger and tumors were smaller for those in touch with their emotions. She actually proved that cancer cells were really macrophage cells. You know what macrophage cells are? They're the big lump cells in our immune system that go out and they're like the garbage eaters, and they eat the toxic matter, the waste matter. She showed that they were the same cells based on what they were secreting. They were secreting the same things that macrophage cells normally secrete. The problem was that they had mutated, but she also showed that it was the signal for the mutation and the information was coming from the body's own immune system to do that. And this is something I've always said. I have a book, which I didn't bring today, called Closer to the Sun, a recipe book for health for the next evolutionary phase of mankind. And in there's a chapter on cancer where other scientists have shown that if you took a cancer cell from one person who was, sick with the cancer and you put it into healthy tissue, it mutates back into a normal healthy cell. So it is there to clean up the toxins, in other words. So if the toxins, another reason to cleanse, are overwhelming to the system, the immune system, I think it's a survival mechanism for the body to have the cancer cells mutate in that way, because the body's going to die anyway from toxic overload. So it's trying to still clean it up, and that's what a tumor is. It's protecting it. It's putting it in a capsule so that, and if you get those tests, the biopsy tests, and they penetrate with a needle into that tumor, it's actually releasing cancer cells, which were encapsulated, naturally from the body. So, what Candace is saying here is that all emotions are healthy. We're usually taught, like, the angry ones and the negative ones are ones we should not express: fear, sadness, anger. But if they aren't expressed, in an appropriate way when they are felt, and you just stuff them, they're going to get deeper and deeper into your cellular memory, and pretty soon you forgot that you even had them, but they're just buried emotions. So it's important to express them, but then let them go. Like, express them, say what made you mad, and then let it go, though. That's where people get stuck. I think they hang on. But.
Also, like people say for boys, it's not good for a boy to cry, or old
Yeah,
guys type of thing. Of course, a boy should cry because the feeling that they have, it's emotions, and it is therapeutic. When we have tears, it's a therapeutic release of our body to reset. Don't try to stuff that because it's just going to get worse later on. And what's nice about the On Guard, I'm not sick, but my 21-year-old son and I went to Busch Gardens and rode all these roller coasters, and we were screaming and screaming. So my throat sounds bad, but it was hurting so bad. I took the On Guard, and it has clove in it, so it just coated my throat so it doesn't hurt. It sounds bad. It'll take a couple days to heal.
How did you take it, in a capsule?
I just put sublingual,
Oh.
and then I made like a throat rinse with it. And he doesn't have a voice left either right now, but it doesn't hurt though. Thank God that I have On Guard, but.
Just put a drop in your
And then just put some in the water and just get swishing around the mouth.
Yeah, if you're just depending on pharmaceuticals all the time, anytime you get sick or something, I mean, what does everyone else do when they have an issue like that? What would you do for yourself? Do nothing?
better on themselves.
How many people do nothing?
Sometimes it wasn't,
Like, that's just crazy to me that your body's asking for help and telling you, I'm help,
I give it a chance to do it itself first.
But you should give it the tools that it will help.
I wait to see what the body's going to do first.
And then what would you do?
If I
What would be
need help
step 2?
eventually in a period of time that I've determined is appropriate, I will go for further help.
Where?
To the doctor or whomever.
Okay, so how many people step 2 would be to go to the doctor?
So sick,
But I'm plant-based, so I go get my pineapple juice from the bromelain and the stuff that's in the pineapple juice that sits at the bottom. If you drink that, that's therapeutic and good for you. So, I mean, I always run for plants or natural things to begin with before I went to a doctor.
But I'm doing that
One
day
is
by
just-
day.
One is natural healing, drink lots of water, bed rest,
And I
did
do
this
that
to
every day.
Yeah, I did this to myself though, so there's nothing wrong with me. I had, a lot of fun. But now the downside to it is it sounds terrible, but, I can help myself by just resting, using my own guard and, don't.
Well, my point is though, that if you don't have like a home physician's kit, that has a diversity of things that you can use first, instead of going to a doctor, and then maybe if that doesn't work, then sure, as a last resort, if something's getting worse and it's not getting better. But a lot of these things are actually pretty simple. Yeah.
What about like really bad pain, like if you're just in such pain that you know something is definitely wrong? It's scary to go to something like this because is it really gonna take away?
Why would plants be scary? Why wouldn't drugs?
The reason I'm saying scary is, pain's your signal of that something is wrong. And your basic instinct, that just because we're conditioned that way, is, oh, I better go to the hospital, or I better go to the doctor.
Because you live in the United States.
Yeah.
It's a common sense trust.
Yeah.
That's because you live in the West.
Yeah, that's
If
true.
you lived in the East, you wouldn't be conditioned that way.
Yeah, that's our Western upbringing, I
Well, I
guess.
had a root canal, and it just went really bad. It was just the most horrific pain I've ever had in a long, long time. And so they tell you to take 3 ibuprofen and 2 extra strength Tylenol. You're taking like 3,000 milligrams of this stuff that I never take pills. But I was so desperate that I took it. And it was like 4 days that I was in such pain. And I have not been able to get it out of my brain since. It's just completely gone to my brain.
How long ago was that?
Chemicals from those pills. I mean, and that's not hydrocodone or any of the narcotics. That's just Advil and Tylenol.
All right, what did you?
Part of your question was, does the plants work? They do. And in my experience, they work better than those products that my doctors have been giving me.
Well, I was
And
gonna
I
say,
will make another, let me.
Okay, sure.
Give another, whatever. We were talking earlier about the past tense. Past tense, is that the one they want?
that was up here. We were talking about focus and past tense.
Well, okay, but, I know, but you had past tense up there. My sister-in-law has an ankle issue from an old injury. And so she's going to the podiatrist to get it fixed because now it's become a problem and she can't walk sometimes and that sort of stuff. So she went in and she saw the podiatrist. So they were going to give her cortisone shots in her ankle, but until then he said, I have this patch, I want you to put it on. Okay, well, the next time you come in, I'm going to give you this patch to put on. So she left. In the meantime, she talked to me, and I gave her the past tense bottle to use on her ankle for her neurological issue that's going on in her ankle. She did that, and she went to the doctor, and she goes, well, I want to let you know, I have this past tense that I've been using that my sister-in-law gave me, and whatever. And he says to her, so tell me, how does it feel? And she goes, I got probably 50% relief. She says, I've only been using it for about a week or something like that. And he told her, he said, because it has frankincense and clove in it. And he said, that will work better than the patch I was going to give you. Continue using what she gave you. Come back in 3 months and tell me how you're able to.
As a special doctor there.
But my point is they do work. They work just as well as those prescriptions that they're going to give me.
Or
And
better.
my viewpoint would be, is I would want to do plant-based first because it's healthier and more natural. Then if that isn't working, then you move on and let the doctors deal with the harder
Yeah, like for
stuff.
tooth infection, it would be like clove or oregano oil.
That would
Yeah.
make sense. I just don't have the knowledge base that you do about this product.
Okay, well, let me just address that.
I've been using these oil, I've had my kit for a while, but I really have only been using, probably would say in the last 3 to 4 months. There's that Modern Essential book sitting on that table and it tells you everything you need.
And I'm with you, I hear you.
Here.
I'm just saying I don't have
All right.
that knowledge yet.
But I want to get back.
Right.
Here, you can-
I go to that book, is how I get it knowledge.
Yes, she's my daughter, and I live somewhere else. So.
Okay, sure.
Thank you very much, and I'll keep you
Okay.
all right.
So, yeah, there's a kit that this company, doTERRA, put together to address all the basic, most common things that a person would go through or need help with. And that is their physician's kit, which is this one, which I'm missing in my sample kit up here, a couple of them. But this is the physician kit. And, you know, if you just want to have a medicine cabinet full of thing of natural, healthy things that you can start having fun with, because they're fun, as well as medicinal and therapeutic and the emotional basis and everything. This book actually comes out once a year. Every year they add new products because they're constantly doing research. They go to places where the plant grows indigenously, so it's not farmed on a plantation somewhere side by side with others that they're growing artificially. They actually go where it naturally grows, where the natives actually harvest it the most natural way, and they make agreements with them that are exclusive so that you know, no one else can come in, and they pay them on a regular basis so that they don't have to worry about harvesting it early before it's ready because they need money. They make sure that they harvest it at the peak time, you know, after it's got its potency at the level that they need it to be, which is a big deal with something like Vetiver. But what I'm trying to say with this book, though, is every year they update this because of the new, you know, they're still traveling all over the world looking for the best this, the best that. This emotions kit just came out, so that's one of their new products for this next edition. This is this past one. The next one is due to come out like in the next month, and we're already, some people are buying a case of it at a time. If you're interested in having your own, you know, I can pass this book around, but it breaks it down by blends or singles or ailments. You know, it's got a glossary alphabetically. You can order it pre-order it at, normally it's like $25 or so, and you can get it on Amazon too. But again, you would not get this issue. You would get the next one, which is like the 7th edition. But this next issue, what I'm trying to say is, I think there's probably a few left in this case that we all went in on. Instead of paying $25 or $30, whatever it is, you can get it for $16.95. But I just would have to ask if you know how many are available. But if this is a topic that you like, we're going to keep doing classes like this. And next class is going to be, here I'll just pass that around. The next class is going to be, we're going to come back to emotions, but not back to back. The next one's going to be where we actually make roller balls. That there's certain blends, like 3 different oils you would put together, and you would create your own based on your own personal needs, physically or emotionally. And you would have it available as a roller bottle or as a spray that you spray in your face, which is awesome. But the roller balls, they actually last a long, long time. So if you're interested in that class as a follow-up, and you want to, you know, really not just feel like you don't know anything, you don't know where to look, so you're just blind, which I can't even really imagine not having resources and things that you can use at home to take care of things. You let me know, and I'll see how many are left in this particular case. I think, you know, there's probably a few left, but I would really take advantage of that and get that book if this is something you want to follow up on and continue to know about. In addition to the oils, cleaning out the cells and supporting the cells is the whole deal of health. So they actually have these other 3 products in what they call a lifelong vitality